Halo, selamat datang di kursus Bahasa Indonesia saya. So, my name is Dave Bowling, and I'm about to take you on a journey through Indonesia. We're not just going to Bali, we're not just going to Jakarta, we're not just going to Yogyakarta, we're going to go across the whole entire country. I'm going to show you Indonesian culture, Indonesian food, and Bahasa Indonesia and how accessible this country is. You're cut from a different cloth. A life of luxury for you is not sitting around a hotel or sitting around a villa for 10 days and doing nothing. It's about going out there, getting the best that you can for yourself and for those around you, and improving on your relationships and doing something that you're going to remember for the rest of your life. Visiting Indonesia should not be something that you just go and do once. It should be a country that you go to over and over and over again. And I would like to teach you how to do that in my course, How to Make Friends and Discover More in Indonesia. Selamat datang. You're probably wondering who I am. So my name is Dave Bowling. I was a Peace Corps volunteer in Indonesia from 2015 to 2017. I lived in rural West Java for 2 years, and I lived in Malang for about 2.5, 3 months. I showed up in Indonesia with zero experience in the country and what I thought was zero Bahasa Indonesia. After a couple of months, I actually became fluent in the language, and this course right here is what I wish I would have had as a Peace Corps volunteer when I came in. A lot of people do want to visit Indonesia. There's not a lot of good information out there. I saw an opportunity to help people. That's the whole reason why I did this. I want to help you travel, break out of the bubble of monotony, and have the best experiences of your life so far that you've had traveling in a foreign country. That's my goal, not to make money, to help you travel and see the world in a different way. How did I learn Indonesian? I talk to people every single day. So Indonesia is a very, very accessible country to people. People are very friendly. They want you to understand their language, their culture, and their daily life. All you have to do is show up, have an open mind, say a couple of words in Indonesian, and you're going to be having brand new friendships and brand new relationships with people that you never ever thought you'd meet, and they will touch your lives in ways that you never ever thought was possible or imaginable, for that matter. So you're probably wondering, who's this class for? So this class is for people that have never studied Bahasa Indonesia. We're starting at the alphabet, and the alphabet looks very similar to the English alphabet. It's almost the same, just a few small changes. Once we go through that, we're going to get you up to about intermediate mid-level, is the level that I had to have when I was in Peace Corps. Made it after about 2.5 months, and it means you can basically do everything. You can travel fully independently and be very confident and comfortable using Bahasa Indonesia at a basic level. You don't have to learn a ton of vocabulary either, I promise. If you want to go on a cruise or you're planning to go on a cruise, this little bit of Indonesian will make a huge difference as well to building relationships with the people working on the cruise ships. A lot of them are from Indonesia. And funny story, I actually met one of my students on a cruise a couple of years ago. It was very, very funny, just absolutely spur of the moment. It was one of the coolest experiences of my life. If you want to travel in Indonesia, Bahasa Indonesia is something that will really help you out. You want to just use English, you can, but Bahasa Indonesia makes traveling so much easier, especially if you want to go to places that less tourists go to. And Indonesian will challenge you to think deeply about yourself and potentially about Indonesia and other parts of the world as well. If you want to get a confidence boost, if you want to be inspired, and if you want to leave your mark on people, Indonesian is the language to study. Because Indonesians want to talk to you. They want to use Bahasa Indonesia to speak with foreigners. A lot of them don't have the opportunity to study English at a high level, so they have to use Bahasa Indonesia. All you have to do is put in a little bit of effort, and it will go so far. I promise. And if you go to Indonesia and it doesn't work out, you put in all this effort, you try to use the language, and people don't care, people don't want to talk to you, let me know. I will 100% give you a refund, no questions asked. So with that, let's go ahead and start our first unit, the Indonesian alphabet. So let's start with the Indonesian alphabet. You're probably looking at some of these words up here, and I have a feeling you already know what these words mean, being a native English speaker or an English speaker. Guaranteed, you probably already know these. So, bagasi, demokrasi, situasi, imigrasi. A lot of these are not too complicated. They're very similar to English words. Cognates, apel, I'm sure you know that one. Probably look at this and go, spelled by me, by Dave. Yes, not the best speller in the world. Didn't do very well in my spelling test back in the day. I'm sure you can guess that. And this, and probably this as well. And then these two up here, kopi and juice. Hearing them, you got them down. See, Indonesian is not very hard. And you know a lot more than you even imagined just a minute or two ago. But there are 3 key differences between the English alphabet and the Indonesian alphabet. So the letter C in Indonesian is always pronounced as che, ch, as in check. So the word check in Indonesian is written as C-E-K in English. Check. All right? The letter R is always rolled, like in Spanish or in Russian. This is a bit of a challenge for native speakers of English and other languages that don't roll their R. Easiest way to do this, put your tongue on the top of your mouth and blow. And just practice it over and over and over and over again. You'll be sure and you will definitely get it. Okay. Indonesian has 5 vowels. So a, e, I, o, u. Where have you heard that before? Just like Spanish, just like Japanese. And these 5 vowel sounds do not change. A, as in father. E, leg. E, cheese. O, hope. U, Uber. So this is it. 5 vowel sounds. It's not complicated. You can do it. All right, so now we're gonna go through the Indonesian alphabet. You guys ready? First glance, it looks very, very similar to the English alphabet, and it really is. There are just a couple of small differences between both of them. So the letters in Indonesian have a different name than in English. Most of them have a similar sound though, but we'll go through every single one of them just so you can be aware of both the sound and the name of the letter. So we're going to start off right here with A. A. As in father. A, father. Next we have Be. Be. As in bird. Che. Che. As in cheese. De. De, as in delta. A, as in egg. F, as in fit. There's a puff, fit. Gay, as in go. Ha, as in hotel. E, as in eat. J, as in judge. Ka, as in king. L, as in Lima. M, as in Mike. N, as in nose. O, as in open. Pay, as in Peter. Key or Q, as in queen. R, as in burrito. You have to roll your R's in Indonesia. Burrito. Okay? It's a little bit difficult. Put your tongue on the top of your mouth and just practice. And if you do it a couple of times every day for the next week, just when you're bored, you will be able to make this sound. It's just practice. I was terrible at it when I first started doing it, but I just practiced and eventually I figured it out. You can do the same thing. S, as in Sam. Te, Te as in text. As in Uber. Now, this letter, ve, can be pronounced as ve, fe with an F sound, or pe with a P sound. Ve, fe, or pe. And it all depends on where the person is from in Indonesia. Most people will say ve. Some people who have trouble and say pe. Kind of got a funny story about it after. So, ve is in very, F is in ferry, or P is in Perry. But generally F and V are the most common. Okay? Next we have we. We is in water. X is in X-ray. Ye is in yellow. And last, zet is in zebra or zebra. So in Indonesian, there are some letters that have the double star, zet, x, ve, ki, and f, which are not commonly used. They're still in Indonesian, but they're not super common. So you'll have to learn these letters, but you're not going to see them everywhere. So the three main takeaways from this first part, the Indonesian vowels. So how do you say these vowels? Do you remember? How do you say this one? This first one? Ah. Then what about this one right here? How do you say it? A. And then this one. How do you say this vowel? E. And then this one right here. O. And then our last vowel is U. A, E, O, U. Always have the same sound when they're next to a consonant. Okay? This letter is always pronounced like che, like chocolate, chicken, check, Charles, anything with a CH. Not a hard CH, but kind of a softer CH sound. And then ve is pronounced like V, F, or P in English. It depends on the speaker. And it can also be pronounced as a W. So Java can be pronounced as Jawa, depending on the speaker and depending on if they're speaking the local language or Bahasa Indonesia. But just another thing, okay? This letter is tricky. It's not super common, so don't worry too much about it. So here is a speaking practice drill. Try to say all of these words. So stop the PowerPoint, stop the video, and say a word, and then continue it. I'm going to start here with this word, and then I will go down, and then I will start here, and I will go down as well. Okay? So, here we go. Ya. Tidak. Bagus. Jangan. Suka. Tolong. Teman. Enak. Boleh. Minta. Permisi. Cukup. Ayo. Awas. WC. Malu-malu. Hati-hati. Jalan-jalan. Terima kasih. Sama-sama. All of these words are on the worksheet. Be sure to check out the worksheet. It has the most common words in Indonesia that are going to be very helpful to you, and also a few other phrases as well. Click that and you can have the pronunciation, not the permission. I saw permisi. You'll have the pronunciation on the worksheet so you can listen to that and practice. I recommend you drill and just practice these words every single day for just a couple of minutes. Say the word, listen to the pronunciation, and just practice it over and over and over again. Build the muscle memory in your mouth so Indonesian is not as unnatural for you to speak. And I promise, in just a couple of weeks of practicing every day, you'll be good to go. All right, so now here is a cultural note and kind of a funny story about Indonesia and Indonesian people. So, my host mom, when I was in Peace Corps, could not pronounce the dreaded V in my name. So, my name is Dave. She could not say V very well. So, my host mom, Davis, it was very, very hard for her to call my name. She'd go, Dave, Dave. And I would just smile and go, Ibu, yes. And she would go, Dapis, Dapis. And then eventually she just got tired of saying Dapis, and she just started calling me Piss. So, Piss, Piss. And when she started doing that, I was like, well, I think she likes me. We had a pretty good relationship. So, practice hard. Indonesian is a bit of a challenge, but studying every day will make it much easier. Thank you very much for sticking around, and I'll see you in the next lesson. All right, so welcome back. Now we're going to start part 2 of the alphabet. We're going to start spelling some words, and we're going to do a couple of dictation exercises. I promise they'll be very, very simple, and they'll really help you out to learn Bahasa Indonesia. Okay, so get a piece of paper and a pen handy, or open up a note-taking app on your phone if you'd rather do that. Make sure that you can just write down these words somewhere. Okay? You're going to hear 10 Indonesian words. They're going to be nouns, or they're going to be the names of places in Indonesia. They're not going to be complicated words. They're not going to be like philosophy or anything like that. Just very, very simple words. For the first 5 words, I'm going to say the full word. So I'm going to say the word in Indonesian. For example, I'm going to say Jakarta. Jakarta. Try to spell out Jakarta in Indonesian. So write it down letter by letter. And if you don't know the names of the letters yet, it's perfectly fine. Just make sure you write down the letters. So, J, A, K, A, R, T, A. This is the pronunciation. Try to think of this pronunciation as you write down each letter. So J, A, K, A, R, T, A. Think of that as you write down the word. Makes a big difference in speeding up how fast you actually can read and how fast you learn the alphabet. Thinking in the language and doing steps like this will be the first step that you need to get fluent in the language. Once you start to think in the language, off to the races. You're going to get there really, really quickly. So, word number 1 is Bali. Bali. Word number 2 is nasi. Nasi. Word number 3 is bukit. Bukit. And if I'm going too fast, please pause the video, go back, listen to it a couple of times. There's no rush. Take as long as you need. Word number 3, bukit. Word number 4 is bis. Bis. Word number 4 is bis. And then word number 5 is meja. Meja. All right, let's see the answers. So word number 1, be, A-L-E. Bali. Okay, word number 1, Bali. And this is from Hari Nyepi in Bali, Balinese New Year. It's from 2024. It was my first time experiencing that. It was a very, very cool tradition. If you're in Bali at this time, I highly recommend you go. And if you're in Indonesia as well, go to Bali. It's once in a lifetime experience. It's very, very interesting. And it's something that will stay with you for the rest of your life. Okay, second, N-A-S-E, nasi. And this right here, this food, is nasi. You can probably guess what it is. Nasi is cooked rice, something that's very important to Indonesians. All right, number 3, be, u, ka, I, te. Bukit. Bukit. You're probably thinking, what is bukit? Well, bukit is this. It is small. A small mountain or a hill is bukit. A big one, a big tall one, gunung. Small one, bukit. Okay? Number 4, B-E-S, bis. And this is a cognate, similar in English, bis. One of these can be at the airport or city bus or intercity bus. And then last, M-A-J-A. M-A-J-A, meja. And if you've studied Spanish, probably thinking, this is similar to a Spanish word, or maybe a Portuguese word. I think this is from Portuguese. This thing right here, it's a table in English, meja. So now for 6 through 10, spell the word using the Indonesian alphabet. So go get the PDF from before with the alphabet on it and spell out the word. Pronounce each letter so you can say the word letter by letter. Okay? I got an itch. Word number 6 is this right here. This is this. How would you say it? Pause the video, think about it. But remember, the most important words are these two right here, these two vowels. All right? Number 7 is this thing right here. We saw this word earlier, at the very, very beginning of the unit. How would you pronounce this word right here? And how do you spell it, letter by letter? Number 8, ooh, it's big money, right? Is this word. And this is kind of a funky word to pronounce because you have two vowels next to each other. You got a diphthong. How would you pronounce this? And how would you spell it, letter by letter? Okay, number 9 is this right here. Can be one of these, a little place where you buy snacks or food, or a small restaurant is this word right here. How would you pronounce this? And how would you spell it, letter by letter? And then here's our last one. This thing right here. How do you pronounce this? And how do you spell it, letter by letter? This thing that comes up every day, and then it goes down every day. How do you say this word in Bahasa Indonesia? All right, let's see the answers. You ready? Okay. A, P, E, L. Appel. Appel. And this comes from Dutch. So Indonesia was a Dutch colony for a very long time. Appel. Next, we have this word. This is a very, very important word in Indonesia. Kopi. Kopi. You can guess what it is. It is coffee. Kopi. We'll have a lot of cultural points on this as well. Okay? Make sure you know this word if you go to Indonesia. Indonesians will always invite you for kopi. All right, next we have uang. Uang. Uang, which is money right here. Uang Indonesia. Indonesian money. Okay, number 9, longer word, warung. Warung. Now, warung is a small shop or a small restaurant where they sell street food or they sell everyday products like shampoo, flip-flops, snacks. You can get cigarettes at some of them, but warungs are everywhere in Indonesia. Okay, warung. And then our last word is matahari. Matahari. It literally means eye, mata, day, hari, eye of the day, which is the sun, Mr. Golden Sun, right here. Okay, we're going to practice a lot with this in the next lesson as well, and you're going to learn a lot about geography. Geografi Indonesia. All right, ayo. So in this next lesson, we're going to have a lot more practice with the alphabet. And also, you're going to learn about this. How would you pronounce this word right here? How would you pronounce it? I mean, it looks very similar in English, but there's a small difference. So this first letter is ge. Geografi. Geografi. Geografi Indonesia. Okay. Practice makes perfect, study hard, and terima kasih. Thank you very much for checking out the lesson, and have a wonderful day. All right. Halo semua. Selamat datang lagi. Welcome back. So, we're going to start our third part of the alphabet with Geografi Indonesia. So, a geography lesson. All right, we're going to start off with this letter, A. A. And this word, try to pronounce it if you can. It's a little bit confusing, right? Aceh. Aceh. Aceh is up here in the northwestern part of Indonesia, in Sumatra. It's very, very far from Papua and from other parts of Indonesia. The distance from Aceh to Papua is farther than from London to Kazakhstan. It's very, very far. So Indonesia is a huge country. You can't physically visit everywhere in 30 days as a tourist. You have to come back many, many times to see the whole thing. But if you learn Bahasa Indonesia, you can do it all very, very easy and very comfortably. Next, we have Bay. Bay. And what is this right here? This word is Bromo. Bromo. So Bromo is a mountain. It is a volcano in East Java. And it is very, very beautiful. It is a symbol of Indonesia. And it is near Malang. Next, we have this letter, Che. How do you say this word? This is a tongue twister. It's tricky. So this is Cilacap. Cilacap. And Cilacap is a city down here in central Java. Indonesia has a big prison near Cilacap where they keep all the terrorists. So Cilacap is a big city down here on the south coast of Java. I did my Peace Corps service very close to here in West Java, so right about here. Can't really see on the map because arrow, but I lived really close to Cilacap when I was in Peace Corps. Next, we have this letter, De. De for this city. Most of you guys probably know this city if you've looked for plane tickets. This is the default city for the Bali airport, Denpasar. Denpasar. Denpasar is a city in Bali, and I believe it's the capital of Bali. Denpasar. Next, we have E and Ampat. Ampat is not a place, it is a number. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4 different provinces here in Java. Banten, West Java, Central Java, East Java. Empat Provinsi di Jawa. Empat. 4. F. F is for this word. You're probably thinking, this looks like Spanish or Portuguese. And you would be right. It is Portuguese. The Portuguese colonized a lot of eastern Indonesia over here. And there's a lot of Catholic people, and there's a lot of Portuguese influence still in this part of Indonesia. And then in East Timor, which is a country right over here, it's not on the map, people still speak Portuguese. So F is for Flores. This one accidentally hit a second ago. Sorry, minta maaf. This is gay for this word. How would you say this? Gunung. 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 And all of these right here are gunung. So not just volcanoes like Bukit, but bigger, big Bukit. Mountain is gunung. Okay? Mountain, gunung. This next word, hotel. Hotel. Could have had a picture of a hotel, but you all know what a hotel looks like. So, hotel. Most of the hotels in Jakarta and Bali are nice. Some of the local hotels are very, very basic. But you will get to experience that when you go to Indonesia. Okay, next we have E. E is for this word. So, Ijen. Ijen. And Ijen is a crater, Kawah Ijen, in East Java province. It's very close to Bali. And they have blue flame and blue fire here. I have never been. I wanted to go a couple of weeks ago when I was in Indonesia, actually, but it was Ramadan and I didn't have time to swing it. So next time I go back, I will go and I will update this and I'll have some cool photos and maybe a video as well. But this is one of the places you have to visit. One of the places that's at the top of my list next time I go back to Indonesia. Ijen. Okay, next we have J. J. And this city you guys are all familiar with. Jakarta. Jakarta. So now it is the capital, but later this year, Indonesia said they're moving the capital up here to Kalimantan, to Nusantara. So I just put largest city. Jakarta is the largest city by far. I think it has close to 30 million people in the whole metro area. So it's larger than Texas, which is crazy. I live in Texas right now. So that's Jakarta. Next we have Ka for Kalimantan. And this is what Indonesians call Borneo. This island right here is one of the largest in the northern hemisphere, and I believe some of it goes into the, no, it's all northern hemisphere. Yeah. but it's a very, very big island. And the Indonesian part is called Kalimantan. And there are several provinces in here. So, Kalimantan. L is for Lombok. Lombok. Lombok is this island right here, next to Bali. Lombok. Okay. M is for this island. How do you pronounce it? Madura. Madura is right here. Madura is very famous for satay, which is meat cooked over a fire on a stick. It's very, very delicious. M, Madura. N is for N-te-te. N-te-te. This whole area over here, this province, is called N-te-te. So, Nusa Tenggara Timur, I believe. I will have to double check that. N-te-te. And I might have to refilm this. Uh-oh. O is for Komodo. Komodo. So you have nothing that starts with O. That's very common in Indonesia. Some Javanese words do. But I chose Komodo because there's a lot of O's in this. So this island is Komodo Island. And they have the Komodo National Park and the Komodo dragons as well here. All right. Pe is for Papua. So this half of this island, half of New Guinea, is Indonesian. This is Papua. And this is something that a lot of Papuans and people in eastern Indonesia are upset about. There are still movements going on. So be careful, and especially if you talk politics and you talk about Papua with local Indonesians. Generally, they will not want to talk about Indonesian politics with a foreigner, but just be very careful. It's a very touchy subject. Okay? Pe, Papua. R is for Raja Ampat. Raja Ampat. R. This is one of the most beautiful places in Indonesia. Would love to go. S for Sulawesi. Sulawesi. This island here is Sulawesi, and it also has many different provinces. It's a very exotic island. There are many people down here in the south, and also up here in the very north. And there's excellent scuba diving up here too, in North Sulawesi. All right. Te is for Toba. Toba. And Toba is a big lake in North Sumatra. It is a big crater lake. It's an island in a lake on an island. So it's very cool. And it's a place that you have to check out in Indonesia if you visit Sumatra. One of my favorite places. It's very, very beautiful. Okay, next we have Ubud. And Ubud is in Bali. Most of you guys probably have heard of this. It's a very famous place for foreigners and Westerners to go on retreats. It's a very nice, touristy, and comfortable hippie place. Ve for Java or Jawa, depending on your pronunciation. So this island right here is Java, one of the main islands in Indonesia. And then We for Widodo, Joko Widodo. He's the current president of Indonesia. They just had an election, so the president will be different later this year. But for now, president is Joko Widodo. Ye is for Yogyakarta. So remember, Jakarta is here, Yogyakarta is here. And this is like the Kyoto or the Gyeongju, the traditional capital for culture, especially for the Javanese people. If you come to Indonesia, your first visit, you should go to Yogyakarta. It's a very, very cool place. There's lots of temples and lots of history in the city. So, where do you want to go in Indonesia? Leave your answer in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching. And check out the vocab booster below. It has over 100 cognates. So 100 words that are similar in English and Indonesian. Most of these words you probably didn't know, but they're very, very useful and handy words that will be incredibly important to your Indonesian skill. All right, so we're starting up the very, very last part of our first module, Module 0, about the alphabet. Here, I'm just going to give you guys some cultural notes about Indonesia, Indonesian people, and the Indonesian language. So, a lot of people will study Indonesian just like for reasons that they study other foreign languages, right? So, Indonesia's economy is growing like most of the other economies over in Asia right now. Not all of them, but a lot of them are growing. For business purposes, if you want to sell products in Indonesia, you have to know Bahasa Indonesia. It's a requirement from the government. If you want to travel to Indonesia as well for tourism, or if you want to potentially hire Indonesians to work in the tourist industry, knowing Bahasa Indonesia is very, very important. A lot of people outside of the main tourist areas and the main cities speak English, so it can be a little bit difficult to do business and to get around if you don't speak Bahasa Indonesia, if you're outside of those main areas. English in Indonesia does symbolize wealth, and wealth is all over the country. There are wealthy areas of every city, and there are also poor areas of every city. Most of the people who are living as regular Indonesian people, so they're working as drivers, working as cleaners in your hotels, working at restaurants, working in cafes and warung, security guards, a lot of them don't speak a lot of English, but they will still really, really try. And that's something that's very, very important, and I'll talk about that in just a second. So people also study Indonesian or foreign languages because they want to have an Indonesian boyfriend, or they have an Indonesian boyfriend or girlfriend. They want to get closer, potentially get married. This be something that I think is very important to Indonesians. If you're going to have a long-term relationship with one, to speak some Bahasa Indonesia. That's going to depend on the person, obviously. People are also interested in Indonesia, so if you're interested in local food or animals, conservation, interested in going surfing and being able to surf with locals and build relationships with them, Indonesian is very important. But I'll also give you a couple of different reasons as to why you should study Indonesian and why you should learn a little bit of Indonesian before you visit the country. So you're probably wondering, why did I study Indonesian? Why? Well, I didn't really have a choice. With Peace Corps, I did not get to choose my country. Peace Corps chose Indonesia for me. I was actually supposed to go to Ukraine and study Russian or Ukrainian, but that did not work out, unfortunately, so I was sent to Indonesia instead. Looking back, though, this was a gift. I'm so happy and I'm so blessed to have been able to serve as a Peace Corps volunteer in Indonesia, primarily because I got to learn a language very, very quickly, and I did not need to put a lot of time and effort into learning the language. You only need about 1,000 words of Indonesian to be conversational. That's it, 1,000 words. And the people down there are so warm and friendly. If you try a little bit, you will see huge results in their smiles and also in how much you learn the language and how quickly you learn the language. They just want to see you try. And if you try to learn Indonesian, just like any other foreigner who does, you will get a huge return on your investment in terms of time and your benefit. So this kind of goes back to you. Why should you study Indonesian before you go down there? So I promise you, if you learn the language, even just greetings, you will get a huge return on investment in terms of your time spent. You spend 5 minutes learning the greetings, and you just say selamat pagi, selamat siang, selamat sore, selamat malam, and then just learn pak, bu, Mr., ma'am. People will be so happy, and they will treat you incredibly well, and they will treat you incredibly respectfully because you are showing respect to them. Now you can build real relationships with them if you want to. And these people will open doors for you that you otherwise would not be able to access. And saying this as somebody that has had this happen to me, it really is life-changing. If you want to study another language, if you study Japanese or study Korean or German, a lot of times speakers of those languages, once they realize your language skills are not up to par, they'll be like, let's just speak English. It can be very, very demoralizing, but Indonesians are never, ever like that. They want you to use Indonesian primarily because they want to talk to you and they don't speak a lot of English. So if you just go to them and try to speak a little bit of Indonesian to them, they will be so happy, and you will be able to do things and have an incredible trip by building relationships with people that you never ever knew existed, and you'll learn things that you never ever would be able to learn otherwise. And you can visit the whole entire archipelago from Sumatra all the way to Papua and use this language virtually everywhere you go. Not everyone is going to speak it perfectly or fluently, but you'll be able to get by and understand virtually everything that you see. And most importantly, you can get yourself out of a jam and you can communicate with locals everywhere you go. So I'm going to blow through the history of Indonesia very, very quickly. Okay, so long time ago, there were a bunch of different kingdoms. There was the Majapahit kingdom, Bugis, became Malay, became Sunda, and then these kingdoms, and Javanese as well, were primarily Hindu and Buddhist. So you have a bunch of these old kingdoms and old religions that have a very, very deep respect and a very, very deep importance to the local cultures, primarily in Java, Bali, and to an extent Sumatra as well. Then in the 1400s, Islam came to Indonesia by a Chinese pirate / merchant named Zhang He. He brought it, it spread from Sumatra all the way down, past Java, got to Bali. Balinese rejected it. They fought very, very hard to protect their Hindu religion and their way of life. Kind of moved over there a little bit past Bali to Lombok, but the Portuguese and the Dutch came in. They started colonizing eastern Indonesia. They brought Christianity. Most of eastern Indonesia is Protestant and Catholic due to the European influence. The Dutch and the British fought over Indonesia for a while until the Treaty of 1825. There was an Anglo-Dutch treaty where basically they said, okay, Britain, you can take Singapore, and Netherlands, you get control over Sumatra. Britain also wanted Malaya, which was very important for them. So the Dutch primarily had control over the whole entire archipelago from Sumatra all the way over to Ambon for about 300 years. Not every single island, but they had a presence in this country for about 300 years. The Japanese took over in 1942 until the end of World War II. It was a very, very big event for Indonesians. It was disastrous for the local people, but ultimately that kind of led to Indonesia becoming independent on August 17th, 1945. I know it's a lot of history. If you're very, very interested in this, there are some very good books online. Highly recommend you check them out. Once Indonesia became a country, its founding fathers created the Pancasila. There are 5 pillars holding up the country. One of these pillars is based on Bahasa Indonesia. There was not really a lot of holding this country together other than the fact that they had all basically been enslaved and been colonized by the Dutch and then later basically taken over by the Japanese. So when they were putting this together, they were trying to create a nationally shared identity between all of these people. Now you have to remember, Indonesia is the same distance from London in the UK all the way to Afghanistan. How are you going to get these people on the same sheet of music? How are you going to get them to have the same identity? It's very, very hard to do. So if you have one person's language or one ethnicity's language, it's not going to work. So the brand new government said, we're going to create a brand new language called Bahasa Indonesia to unite all of the people in this country. So this language is used by Indonesians to communicate with other Indonesians. And by doing this, you are at the same level, you are sama with other Indonesians. You're not speaking to them in a colonial language like English or Dutch or Japanese. You're speaking to them in their language. It's a language that touches their heart and a language that they all learn and they all hold dear to their hearts, regardless of how well they speak it. So it's very, very important if you do visit Indonesia and you're interested in learning about Indonesia to study Bahasa Indonesia as well, because it really will open up doors to the country that you otherwise would not be able to get access to. All right, so now I'm going to go over some easy wins and some challenges that you're going to face in Indonesia. So, in Indonesia, it's very easy to make a local friend and to practice the language. And walk virtually anywhere in the country, walk up the street, smile, say hello to a person, and that person will very likely start having a conversation with you. It's very, very easy to practice the language. You can talk about almost anything that you want, but there are a couple of topics that are very, very taboo. So LGBT, sex, violence, terrorism, things like that. You don't want to talk about things like that are problematic. Try to talk about things that are food, family, yourself, your country when you're meeting Indonesians. They're very, very curious about the world. They want to learn more about you and about your country, and they want to interact with you. And usually they'll do this over a meal or over a coffee or tea. So sit down, break bread, and just actually spend time getting to know you. This is very, very important to actually get to know the person and to build a relationship with them before you do any sort of business or any sort of transaction with them. So learned how to cook a little bit. My cooking skills are still terrible, but first couple of days in Indonesia, our neighbors took us to a restaurant, and then restaurant was like, oh, you guys can come to the back and cook and try to make sambal. So buddy and I made sambal. It wasn't very good. And they'll invite you to like local parties. This is like a pesta kuda lumping, or to a wedding. And it's very, very unique to get to go to things like this. Indonesia is one of the only countries that I've been to where people actively invite you to their events, and it's to go so you get to experience it as well as they get to hang out with you. We'll also take you to restaurants like Suck My Duck, and they have a very, very good sense of humor in Indonesia. So if you're into like Blink-182 or like a kind of a teenage like humor style, you'll fit in. You'll really, really like it. But there are some negatives and some challenges that you're going to face. So here are some negatives too. So things that are going to be harder for you to adjust to by learning Indonesia and visiting Indonesia. So Indonesians will flood you with questions about yourself. So a lot of these questions are very, very personal. So they'll ask you about your religion, they'll ask you about your age, your job, your relationship status. Most of them are doing it out of pure curiosity. But there are some people down there that are looking for an economic lifeline. They're going, okay, this guy is 30 years old, this guy's 35 years old, and he works for this company, he's an accountant, or he has this job, he's a pilot, and I'm going to try to introduce him to my daughter, so then maybe he gets married to my daughter, and then they can get married, and then I can end up in America or the Netherlands or Australia or whatever country. There are some people that think like that. So that's something that you have to be aware of. Most people, I would say probably 90% of the people that I met are not like that, but there are people that are like that, where they are looking for some sort of an economic lifeline. A lot of Indonesians do live online as well, and they have stereotypes about each country, about foreigners, and breaking these stereotypes can be very, very hard. So if you're a white American like me going down there, this is kind of what they expect. If you're an American from a different ethnic group, they will kind of be surprised, like, how are you American? You're Asian, or you're black, or you're Latino. For them, they have one idea of Americans generally, and breaking this idea in their mind that, yes, I'm an American, and I'm just as American as this other person is very, very hard to do. So it can be challenging, it can be frustrating, and it can be a negative, but at the same time, look at it and go, okay, this is a chance for me to make a real impact on this person and to teach them something about the United States that otherwise they would not be able to learn. They will likely also want to add you on social media. They'll want to get to know you, and they'll want to build a relationship with you and potentially add your family and friends as well. So here's kind of a funny story and a cultural note. So in Indonesia, the oldest lady, generally in a family, is the boss. She is by far the queen. And this was my host grandmother during training, Mbah Warsi, and she was the boss of the family. And this is my grandma over here in the States, and she's definitely the boss. You can see the tiara. She was the boss of our family as well. I think both of them would be very, very good friends if they would be able to talk. They would just sit down and smile and go, oh, look, he's a good grandson, or oh, he's a good host grandson, doing all of these things, helping us out, or not. But my host grandmother here really did help me to learn Bahasa Indonesia, and I really have to say, hatur nuwun Mbah Warsi for helping me. So when I first got to Indonesia, I would get up and I would go running early, usually 4:30, 5 o'clock, and I would get back, and then my host grandmother would always go, oh, jogging, and kind of make a motion like she's going to go jogging. So what would I do? I would do round 2 with my host grandma, and we would go to the local village hall with all of the other older ladies, and we would do aerobics. And for the first month and a half or 2 months, I did aerobics almost every morning with the old ladies. And it was a very, very good way to learn Bahasa Indonesia and a really good way to build a relationship with my host grandmother and also with my village. So if you go to Indonesia, the older people are incredibly friendly. They want to get to know you, and they will take care of you. Go with an open mind, go have a good time, and enjoy yourself while you're down there.
and Mbah Warsi. Sad I could not see you because you passed away a couple of years ago, but you will live on forever in my heart. Matur suwun ya. Our next unit is going to be about greetings and talking to people. So, stay tuned.